I was feeling this anxiety during the summer, and I felt like I was failing, and I felt like I wasn't being as influential and making as much progress. And whenever I feel depression, whenever I feel those anxieties, because see, depression, it wants to wrap around you like a mummy and begin to kind of like a rope and begin to wrap you up. And the next thing you know, you're in your room and you're isolating and you're in your mind and you feel like all your failure. You build things that aren't really built in reality. They're your fears and your struggles, and you're just totally blah. You don't want to get out of bed. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. But here's what I've learned. Now these days, anytime that I feel that inkling of a thought of depression and that thing trying to wrap its way around me to hold me hostage and to paralyze it, I've learned to punch it in the face, man. And what I mean by that, every time I begin to feel it, I'm the first one that's going to get on my phone. I'm going to call my friends and say, hey man, I got to get out of the house. I need to go do something. I don't let depression wrap around me and tie me up. Anytime I feel it, and even though I don't want to sometimes, and even though it takes everything in my power to hit the send button and to talk to somebody and to say I'm struggling, I refuse to stay in my room and let my mind war against me. You've got to be willing, man, when you feel it, and maybe you're in the middle of it, and maybe it's uncomfortable, but when you feel that thing called depression, and when the collars are more bland and you don't want to get out of bed, you've got to roll out of bed, man, and you've got to make yourself go. Get out of the house. Go surround yourself with somebody. And I know you don't want to feel like it. I know you don't feel like it sometimes, man. But you got to. Don't, because if you don't, you isolate, you stay in your room, you start building all of these stories, and what happens is here's the principle of life, man. What you focus on, what you think about is always going to grow. Whatever you put your time and your attention into is always going to grow. And so when you're looking in your room and you're isolating and you're looking in the mirror in your room and you're isolating yourself, what you think of is going to grow. And so when you isolate yourself and you're kind of building these stories about your struggles and your hurts and your pains and your past, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And you wonder why it seems like it's this giant that you can't slay, or this monster or this demon that you can't get rid of, because you're always focusing on it. You've got to get out. Pick up your phone. Talk to your parents. You've got to punch this thing in the face called depression, man. And I know it's not always easy, but you've got to do it, and do it afraid.